Hello everybody, welcome to historic Brattonsville. My name is Nathan Schultz, our military interpreter here on site. And today we're going to talk about the New Year's traditions of the 19th century. And the first thing I want to get out of the way is that traditions from the 19th century to today are very different. That it all really depends on who you are. That different social classes and different groups celebrate holidays, well, differently. Whether it be the high planter class, or the white citizens of here in York County celebrating new traditions of a Victorian fashion, or whether it be those people who are still enslaved, that they might be mourning the time as Hiring Day or Heartbreak Day, where loved ones are taken away from it. Today we're going to talk about those traditions, that it all depends on who you are. In the 1850s, New Year's traditions for the white citizens of York County meant many things that we do today, though. Is that it was viewed as a time of renewal, a new time, except there are some traditions that don't survive. One being the Great Visiting Day, where men would travel around to reconnect with old acquaintances and old friends. They would go from 11 o'clock in the morning all the way to 4 p.m., visiting about the neighborhood, while the women and children, they would stay at home to receive these new visitors. As an example, the new Victorian holidays. The Victorian holidays of the 1850s you find to be much more fluid. Queen Victoria had just recently introduced the idea of first footing, to invite the first person you meet out of the threshold of a new year to dinner, which involves its own traditions as well. While many of the white citizens of York County participated in their New Year's traditions, the enslaved people here on the Bratton Plantation, well, it wasn't a time of celebration. Instead, it was a time of mourning, as the planter class would call that day Hiring Day, for them, where new slaves would be sold out and where new ones would be hired upon. For those people held in bondage, it was Heartbreak Day, where they lost their loved ones. Families were torn apart, and it was happening at the beginning of almost every year. In time, the New Year's tradition began to become something else. Because after Emancipation, Heartbreak Day, went to a side. Then instead, a new holiday, Emancipation Day, would be celebrated. Though we know the people here in South Carolina celebrate in a certain way. As an issue of the Yorkville Inquiry, it states that in Charleston, the procession was enlivened by the display of military tactics and of variegated uniforms. The exhibition was closed by the reading of Lincoln's proclamation and speeches. That now, this community that was previously enslaved is celebrating its freedom, vocally through a new freedom of speech, and militarily by showing that they can now protect themselves. That a new Year's tradition could herald in their new lives. For the New Year traditions of the 19th century, is it, well, a simple answer is it depends. For those white citizens, they participate in those traditions, those new Victorian traditions, the idea of first footing, the idea of Great Visitation Day. But for other people of a different social status, the enslaved can mean something worse, something bad. And even farther in the future for the new freedmen communities, that then it's a day of reclamation and celebration of their own freedom. That different people, different groups, celebrate holidays, well, differently. And so I want to thank you very much for joining me here on our Time Travel Tuesday to learn a little about New Year's traditions of the 19th century. Thank you very much, and have a happy New Year.